Alright, in this video I'm going to show you a bunch of items that I found recently at the dump and at an old abandoned military base. I had a pretty good haul, so I'm going to show you a few things that I found. The first thing I found was this DC Milliamp Meter. This was in an old control room in a military base. I tested it out. Works perfectly. I also found a couple of nice rheostats. This is a 3 ohm. Checked it out. Works perfectly. This will come in handy with some projects. And I also found a smaller one. This one I think is a 500 ohm. Now I also found a bunch of really nice switches. These are like the cherry switches that we have today, but they're made a lot better. These have threaded brass inserts. This was on an old air condition control switch. These were made in the 70s. I found a few of those. I'm sure I'll find good use for these switches. Put that over there. Alright, now this I found at the dump. There was a nice rectifier box that was thrown away. The telephone company must have thrown it out. And in it I took out this 80 amp circuit breaker. It's designed for direct current. That might come in handy one day for something. And I found another breaker in that same unit. This one right here is a double pole 250 volt 13 amp. It's amazing what people throw away. Now these right here I found at the military base. Now this military base was built in the mid-50s, and around 1979 it was shut down because the US government did not want to renew the lease, so they ended up leaving a lot of things behind and pretty much abandoning this base. It's located in the Caribbean. And these right here, what these are lightning arrestors. This was hooked up to the equipment. One side is hooked up to the power side, or you can have this connected to a transmitting antenna. And then this side is connected to a ground rod in the earth. And what this is, it's a gas tube. And if you check this right now with a continuity tester, it's going to be an open circuit. But in the event of a high voltage discharge from a lightning bolt or something, what would happen, this tube would then short, directing the high voltage to ground. So I found 4 of these, and all of them are still good. Now in the old power plant that they had at this base, there was a whole bunch of power resistors. This one right here is a 4.5 ohm. I checked it out. And I found a whole bunch of these. Now these are not cheap. If you have to buy these wire wound ceramic resistors like this, they're not cheap. Got a whole bunch of them. And there's actually a lot more than this there, but I didn't want to be greedy. So I got all those. All different values. 1000 ohms. This one here is a 620 ohm. And this one here I think was a 1K when I checked it. Move these off to the side. Now I also came across an old power inverter. It was in a metal cabinet. It was a 12 volt to 120, and inside was a huge transformer. And along with the transformer I found 2 of these really nice 0.1 ohm 50 watt resistors. These are not cheap if you have to buy these. Found 2 of those. In the building that was controlling the telephone switchboard, I found 2 of these real nice electrolytic capacitors. 37,000 microfarads, 40 volts apiece. You got 2 of those, and I checked the values, and they're pretty close. They're 36,000 microfarads, so these are pretty good. I found this nice terminal strip. It's like brand new. Now these right here are very interesting. This was also in the area where the telephone switchboard was. These are Mercury wetted relays, and they're sealed, so you don't have to worry about them spilling, getting any mercury anywhere. Now this has several different contacts. If you position the Mercury wetted relay like this, then these will come on. You'll have continuity here. If you rotate it sideways, or if you go on this end, then these two here will connect. So these are really interesting. If you shake it, you can hear a little bit of mercury in it. And I have two of those. Now I also came across a whole bunch of solenoids. In the past I've been there and I've grabbed a few of these. So I took another one. Got that. Alright, now this right here is a very interesting device. I've never come across this before. It was in the air conditioned control room, which was all pretty much shot. Everything was busted down. The ceiling was caved in. But this was still there. And I think this is made in the 70s, this one. And how this worked, there was a solenoid, and when the solenoid triggered, it would push this in like that. Once that gets pushed in, there's an air bladder in here, and it very, very slowly pops out like that until you hear it click. So once this triggers, so you have power coming into these screws and power leaving these screws. So right now you have the power going through the switch until it clicks like now. Now if you want to increase the duration, right here it says increase to go counterclockwise and decrease to go clockwise. So by turning it clockwise, you're letting more air enter in like a bigger hole, and this will come up quicker. If you turn this to increase the duration, what will happen, you're making very, very little air enter. So this thing could really take a long time. Now I didn't test how long, but I turned this a little bit counterclockwise and I pushed this down. It was like 5-10 minutes later and it still did not come all the way up. So this is a really, really cool thing. Now at the dump, I came across these very unique power transformers, two of them. It was in an old stereo system. These are the primaries, the yellow and the whites, and the secondaries are the blue and all these other colors here. It's not your typical EI core transformer. What it is, it's made out of, this is all laminated. It starts out very thin, the strips, and as each turn gets wound around the cores, it gets progressively wider, the strip. And then once it gets to the full diameter of this right here, as you see, then it reverts back and gets gradually smaller until you get back to a strip that's just like this. Very cool. I'll find use for these. What I like about them is they're very low profile and they don't take up as much space as the E-core. Now I don't know how efficient they are in relation to an E-core, but they are laminated, so they should be pretty good. Now this right here I found in an old satellite receiver, and it was a really, really good power supply, a filtered DC power supply with the switch on it and everything. It puts out 30 volts and it puts out 12 and 5. What I'm going to do is make a little benchtop power supply for my electronics projects. I'm going to take the 30 volt output, feed it into a LM317T adjustable voltage regulator, and I'm also going to have a little digital readout to tell me what the actual voltage is, and I'll be able to adjust one of the potentiometers to give me the voltage output that I want. And on the front I'll just put two screws that I can clip on my alligator clips to connect up to my breadboard when I want to power it up. And last but not least, I found several cans of emergency drinking water, perfect condition, all made in December of '65. All vacuum sealed, you can hear it. I opened one and the water is crystal clear because of the vacuum that it's in, and it's very interesting. I'm holding a can of water here that's 48 years old. I found several of these made in Boston, Massachusetts. I opened it up, the water is crystal clear, the inside of the can is super shiny, and they're really, really cool. And that was the haul. Hope you enjoyed the video. Check out my other videos on my video list, subscribe, and rate this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you.